Welcome to episode 2 of the Full Moon Podcast. We start hot today with some football, talking about rule changes in the NFL, the rule change in the college football playoff, which led into a nice SEC bias rant, into some NBA playoff action, talking about Tyrese Halliburton's coming out party and how he's used this playoff to really put himself into the superstar conversation, right? That's how he's been playing. We touched on the OKC Minnesota series that just wrapped up last night. Then we had a great conversation with Maine Hockey forward Charlie Russell. Not an interview, not me talking about and asking him questions about his Maine Hockey career, but just him breaking down some of these NHL playoff games and these conference series we've been watching, including Florida wrapping up the Hurricanes last night to advance to their third straight Stanley Cup championship. We started out a little too formal for Russ and I, but we finally got into the groove. He's a guy who loves the game. He's like a walking hockey reference and elite prospect page, and I'm a guy who loves the sport of hockey. So I thought it was a great conversation chatting about these two series, and we finished with today on X and just the State of the Moon, new segment we're calling State of the Moon, where we just talk about the podcast and chat a little bit about it and formulate some ideas, break it down, watch the tape, discuss the tape. So I hope you enjoy. Welcome back into the Full Moon Podcast. As always, I'm Jack Webb, and I just want to start off with a thank you to everybody who listened. I had an idea and a thought that my inner circle, my people, we're going to give episode 1 a thorough listen and be there to support me and bear with me through that first episode. But I was very surprised and taken back by the amount of people who reached out to me and were like, hey, loved the first episode, gave it a listen. That was a very pleasant surprise. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you're here joining me for a second one. We're going to start off today with football because at the end of the day, this is a football podcast that talks about everything else. I'm a football guy through and through. It's my bread and butter. Come football season, that's when we'll be firing on all cylinders. But I'm also just a guy who loves sports. So we're going to talk about it all. We're going to get all the angles, but we're going to start with some football rule updates. I'm sure everyone, heard about it, saw it on SportsCenter, understood that at the owners' meeting, a bunch of rules were being decided on, voted upon. Some went through, some denied. So I'm just going to go through the ones that I thought were important. You should know. A touchback on a kickoff now will start at the 35-yard line. I think that's to encourage receiving the kickoff in the new format and actually trying to take it back and return one for a touchdown or extra yardage, and to prevent kickers from just booting it through the end zone or booting it into the end zone, trying to encourage that return. Onside kick in any quarter, I don't want to get pissed off too early in in this podcast, so we're going to breeze right through that one. The fact you have to declare an onside kick and the fact they made it you can only do one in the fourth quarter is the dumbest shit I have ever heard. This is football. What are we doing? NFL players can compete in the 2028 Olympics. I'm not going to lie. I feel real bad for that U.S. flag football team that's already established, already going, have worked so hard to, I don't want to say perfect their craft, but they've worked hard at their sport. I mean, whatever you want to call flag football, they've been a part of pushing it to get put in the Olympics. They've been a part of growing it to get to that point, and here you are. Imagine being a receiver who maybe played D3 football at best, right? Maybe there's some D1. I'm not familiar. I didn't dig too deep into it. But imagine you're a football guy. You play D3 at best. You go get involved in U.S. flag football. You build it from the ground up. Oh, shit, I'm going to get to play in the Olympics. I'm going to get that cool tattoo maybe right here. Maybe you never know where you get it. I'd get it right here personally. And then Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase are like, no, we're going to go play in the Olympics and represent the United States and just dominate the entire world in 7-on-7 football. You got to feel for those guys. I mean, that's a tough go. The Lions withdrew their playoff seeding proposal due to a lack of sport. They were trying to say that seeding in the NFL playoffs should not, the division winners, I should simplify this for you, the division winners should not just automatically get a bye in the top 4 seeds. They pulled it back just due to a lack of support. I think it was an outlier year that saw the Minnesota Vikings having to go on the road in a playoff game after that fantastic season. Because I think the same team that got screwed like the Vikings would be the same team that after a gauntlet of a 17-game season they'd be begging. They would love that bye week. They would love to have that bye week because it's so hard to win a division in general, and divisions fluctuate. They go up and down. Some are good some years, some are good. You know, what I mean, it's not something that I think it'd be a mistake, is what I should say. It would be too reactionary, in my opinion, to make that move after this year. And then the big one, the tush push is upheld, apparently thanks to a strong Jason Kelce speech on behalf of the Eagles and the play at the owners' meeting. I still hate the play. I hate it. I hate watching a 3rd and 3 tush push into a 4th and 1 tush push. It just feels like rugby. I hate watching it. There's no hard evidence on injuries or anything like that. It looks like an injury waiting to happen. As an offensive lineman, as that center, a pile like that is a nightmare. I don't care. You know, obviously Kelce was part of establishing that play, so he loves it. It just seems like a nightmare. In my opinion, run duo or power like a man. Line up and run the damn ball. Get the fucking back 7 yards in the backfield. Run him downhill. See what you can do. Block it up correctly. I'm just not a fan of the play, but the football guys decided, and I think at some point, I guess you got to decide with the football guys. And while we're on the conversation of rule changes in football, that brings us to the college level. It happened a couple weeks ago, but we're just getting to it now in episode 2. Gladly, and it's the correct move, the first round buys in the college football playoffs will no longer go to the top 4 ranked conference champions. It will just go to the best 4 teams in the country, the top ranked, the top 4. And it'll put the committee under a microscope again because it'll be like them deciding the top 4 teams like the OG playoff, but it's not as intense, so it won't be as bad. And this leads me to a rant that I've really been stewing on for the past couple days because I'm just sick of the SEC. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey said before the SEC meetings, football meetings earlier this week, it's clear that not losing becomes in many ways more important than beating the University of Georgia, which 2 of our teams did that were left out. He said strength of schedule was not taken into heavy consideration in terms of determining the playoff spots and who gets in. Essentially, he's talking about his three-loss teams that didn't get in. I'm so sick of the SEC bitching about that. Before any games are played, before any debates are had, you sit down as a team and as a program in the meeting room or as a fan looking at the schedule online when it first gets dropped. In all of August, when the slate's clean, you're not preparing your argument. Hey, we got to win that Georgia game, so when we're in a conversation, against Penn State on who gets that 4th spot, we need to win that one. That's not the conversation you're having. You're focused on controlling your own destiny and trying to win every single game on your schedule. That's the only thing that matters. That's the only thing the focus is on at the beginning of the season. You control your own destiny. Every team does off rip. The moment you lose control of your own destiny, I don't feel bad for you. Because every team starts 0-0, clean slate. It's on you to win those games. And some of these SEC fans are brutal, man. I mean, they're brutal. Some of these guys want to disband from the NCAA because the SEC is superior and they want to create their own super league. It should be the SEC Invitational. It should be the goddamn SEC Invitational. Maybe offer a spot up to Ohio State and Michigan on years they're good. Fuck that, man. College football is a game that's celebrated and played nationwide. Every region is represented. That's what makes it great. The moment you lose control of your own destiny, I no longer feel bad for you. And we're going to go through those 3-loss teams. Alabama. Don't let the Maine Black Bears score more points than you in Norman, Oklahoma. Let me say that again. Don't let the Maine Black Bears score more points than you in Norman, Oklahoma. Just a few weeks apart. They put up 3 points. The Black Bears put up 14. And if you're going to come here and say, oh, a fan who doesn't know any better would say, oh, that 14 points is probably garbage time. They probably had their third stringers in. Black Bears had a 7-0 lead in Norman. I'm just trying to let you know. And that argument's dumb enough. Don't lose that game. It's simple. You're in, Bama. If you don't lose that game. Ole Miss, don't lose to Kentucky in September and then Florida in November. Again, it's that simple. South Carolina, out of all those 3 teams, I thought they should be in before anyone else, any of those 3. But again, South Carolina, don't lose to LSU at the beginning of the year. In your argument, you're probably thinking to yourself right now, if you don't like what I just said, you're probably thinking, oh, the SEC is so tough, the schedule's tough. Yes, it is. But you chose that life. You said, let me go play in the SEC, the best conference in college football. You said, let me go coach in the SEC, the best conference in college football. Kalen DeBoer, nobody told you, nobody forced you to go from Washington to Bama. You chose that because it's the right move. You're going to play against the best, but this comes with the territory of playing against the best. I don't think that Bama should just get a pass for losing that Oklahoma game and get in over an SMU team that handled their business. Made it to their conference championship game. I just don't believe in that. I think winning should be rewarding. It should be rewarded. Sorry. And I'm anti-Sankey here in terms of you should just let these guys in. While we're on the topic of football, let's get a round of applause for the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots, after years of not being able to find a receiver, have their wide receiver one. Stefon Diggs, over the weekend, had a video surfaced. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I'll see if I can put it in the podcast. I'm still trying to figure out the technology here. Hang with me. Over the weekend, Stefon Diggs had a video leaked. He was on a boat, supposedly his girlfriend rapper Cardi B's boat. And he's got 3 girls around him. And he's asking him, he said, what's my name? He said, what's my name? And they're telling him his name. And then there's a conversation about this little pink substance seen in the video. Remember, many are calling it pink cocaine. Patriots got themselves a wide receiver one. That is wide receiver one activity. I mean, that like it or not, some of the best wide receivers, the biggest divas you'll ever see, they do stuff like this. They're characters. They're out there. I mean, obviously the Giants lost that game. You got the whole Giants wide receiver room on their bye week back in the day on a boat. Tim's, they got their yuttas on, they got the jeans on, but that's wide receiver activity. And before you get ahead of yourself, and before the speculation begins, no, I have not dabbled. I have not dabbled in the slopes, in the booger sugar. I've not done it. I think my heart's got enough on its plate already. Wouldn't dare give it another workload. Wouldn't dare. But I think there's more booger sugar use in the world than we think. I think there's a lot more people in this world that go sledding, that go skiing on the slopes than we would think. But enough of that. Let's get into some NBA talk here. I want to talk about this New York-Indiana series. Halliburton, you want to talk about a coming out party. I mean, 31, 12, and 15 in Game 4. He's having his moment. He's taking full advantage of being on the big stage in a conference final series, both of them that are lacking stars, that are waiting, that wanted someone to rise to the top, that allowed someone to rise to the top with the OG stars all being knocked out, eliminated. And he's taking full advantage of his moment. It's so refreshing to watch him play when you have to watch Brunson and SGA, who are 2 great players. Obviously, SGA, MVP. But it's so refreshing to watch Halliburton not get into a ton of the foul bait bullshit, but instead just make the right play as it comes to him. If he needs to drive and get to the rack, he's driving and getting to the rack. If he needs to drive, dish it out, he's doing that. He's pushing the pace in transition. I mean, he's doing it all, and he looks unbelievable out there. It's like I said, it's refreshing to watch. He looks so awkward. People are, calling him, he plays basketball like Steve Urkel. He's got those long legs, weird-ass jump shot. But, man, I mean, he's getting it done. He had that end of third quarter logo three where he's just pulling up from Curry range, cashing it. It's an entertaining series like we talked about in the last episode. The brands just make this so fun. The fan bases, Indiana versus the big city in New York. You saw it with McAfee firing the fans up, telling New York to get their bitch ass out of there, talking to Chalamet, talking to Ben Stiller, talking to Spike Lee and those guys. That obviously stirred some stuff up. But, I mean, it's been so entertaining to watch. And for Knicks fans, I'd be sick. I would be sick. Excuse my cough. Let me take a drink of the water right here. I would be sick to my stomach. And trust me, as someone who follows the Celtics and lives in New England, it's kind of the same thing. You blew game one with a lead. Game two was not blown by the Knicks. But you blow game one with that lead, which was just insane. You find yourself down 0-2, and the window was open. The stars were out of there. If you told the Knicks at the beginning of the season, all you had to do was get to the finals to beat the 6-seed Pacers, they would have told you no problem. And they've truly, it's 3-1. They still got hope. Big game 5 on Thursday night, but they've truly blew an opportunity here to really put the cherry on top of what's been a great postseason for them. And I fear that, they get eliminated this round, just like they partied a couple years ago, in that Trae Young series. And then they partied round 2. They're just going to keep throwing parades with every round until they finally get there. But that's just how they're doing things in New York. Minnesota, Oklahoma City. I'm not going to lie to you. Haven't watched a ton of this series, so I'm not going to waste a shit ton of your time talking about it. The only thing I want to touch on is Ann Edwards. I need to see if the energy is going to be the same in terms of what you demand from your young stars in big moments like this, like they did with Jason Tatum. They were jumping down his throat, no diddy, when he had a bad game in the playoffs, when his team has failed to reach the NBA Finals, like they have in some of the past couple years when they've been getting on him and getting on him. Ann Edwards, game 1, 18-9-3. Solid game, very solid game. Superstar game? No. Great game in game 2, good game in game 3 when they won. Game 4, 16-4-6. That was Tatum. They're jumping down his throat. The hypocrisy, and today it's, he's up on the Ant-Man, yeah, we need more, but it was not the slander that Jason Tatum underwent during his maybe disappointing runs and games in the playoffs. So I think we got to keep some of the same energy here. Just finishing up some thoughts on basketball. The era of role players is here because of that second apron, and I'm fired up. I'm a guy, I used to get in a ton of arguments with my buddy JD Dorenzo back at Sacred Heart in the locker room about, I think that role players win championships. I think the people who make the difference in playoff series, the superstars, you know what you're going to get. You know what you're going to get with them. They're going to play like stars. That's expected. It's the role players who can step up on your bench, who can step up that's maybe, number 4 or 5 in your starting lineup. Who can make that difference on the defensive end? I think that's what it comes down to. And that's kind of what the entire league is turning into. Team basketball is back. Because of the second apron, the era of the super team is dead. The superstar era, we lived through it, but it's dead now. You're not a team, LeBron willing a team to the NBA Finals like the Cleveland Cavaliers did. I think it's done. You need a full team with a very solid quality role players that aren't making too much money. That's the biggest part of it. You need to draft well now more than ever. And we have officially entered the era of role players. And as a role player in high school basketball, I was like the 8th man off the bench. I was in there to get rebounds, fouls, set screens, call out screens. I am fired up about it. And before we get off basketball, I've got a quick brain rot rant here. SGA, I can't believe And again, if you are over the age of probably 27, you can probably skip this. Skip this maybe a minute. I can't believe they call SGA. They say he's got aura, and they shit on Tatum for being corny. I got a newsflash for you. And my former teammate and good buddy Darius Bell is not going to like this. SGA is from Canada, from Toronto. Toronto, man, them are mad corny, fam. They're corny. Have you been listening to this guy talk? His speech after the MVP, again, he said some great stuff, but it was corny. His mic'd up moments have been corny. How he tries to act so nonchalant at the podium is corny. And Tatum's the one they call corny. It's just an observation. It's just an observation. I think if I had to predict the future, once SGA overstays his welcome at the top, like most superstars do, and people start to get sick of him, you're going to see the narrative shift. You're going to see the narrative shift. He'll get called corny. All right, enough of that brain rot. We're going to move to my conversation with Charlie Russell. It was awesome to get Russ on, and it's not an interview about his hockey career, about his time with Maine. Charlie's a guy who loves hockey, plays hockey at a high level in the Hockey East with University of Maine, and we're going to talk some NHL playoffs because it's something that he loves to do. It's something that I love to do, and I love to get someone on who, quite frankly, knows a lot more about the game than me, and then I can ask questions and we can really have some dialogue about it. So here is my conversation from earlier tonight with Charlie Russell. All right, I'm here with Maine Hockey forward and my buddy Charlie Russell. Russ, I know you've been eager to kind of get on and talk some normal hockey, right? I just want to tell a quick story. I know you're not necessarily a fan of the formal interview, right? I remember we were talking before the Hockey East playoffs, and I was just like, Russ, what's it take to win a playoff hockey game? And your response was, I don't know, we're going to find out. So I know you've been fired up to just sit here and talk some hockey casually. So just Florida Panthers headed to their third Stanley Cup final in a row. What are your overall thoughts after watching that Game 5 closeout?
Yeah, first off, Jackie, thanks for having me on. I'm fired up to talk some hockey with you. First, Florida Panthers. Wow, Sasha Barkov. What a play to get that to Verhaeghe backdoor. I think in that moment, like the best players play their best in the biggest moments. So, holy, what a play by Barkov.
In two, like what do you make of that statement right there? Because it does feel like that, and it feels like that in hockey, especially where it's such a team game. But a guy
Yep.
like McDavid, a guy like, as a Bruins fan myself, Marchand is always showing up in the big game. Do you think that's a trait? Do you think that's a trait when you evaluate a player? It's something that they just got or they don't?
100%. I think some guys I think like the best players, it's a gift to be able to when the game matters most. I think Kachuk is the same way. I think when that puck's on your stick in those biggest moments, not to panic. You find kind of that little bit of courage to hold the puck a second longer and make a play, and I think that's what makes the best players really special.
Because obviously I cannot relate to having a puck on my stick, right? I can barely even skate. When you do have the puck on your stick like that, is it like a one of those things where it comes naturally? Sometimes it feels like your body moves before your brain even does.
Yeah, I think part of it too is scanning before you get the puck, and then kind of knowing your surroundings, and then I think it's a confidence thing too, like being comfortable with holding the puck is like especially in those biggest moments where lots of guys just want to get rid of it to have that kind of extra courage, that extra swagger you can call it, I guess, to keep that puck on your stick and make a play in the big time moments.
Yeah, I mean it's actually hilarious. I just thought of this because Barkov dances a little bit behind the net, finds space, beats his man, and gets it to that back door. I mean, it's this is not an interview about you, but in the Hockey Championship game, you had the semifinal game. You no, but you I know it's funny. You had a moment like that though, where you dance a little bit, and all of a sudden you just find Renwick right there in the back door. They're not the same exact play by any means, but it's the same type of situation. So you can really relate to that in terms of just take me through that play if you can remember it. When did you see Renwick? Was that a shot at the net and he just deflected it? Like, take me through that play to help people understand in the moment what the player with the puck on their stick is thinking about, late in the game. Obviously, yours was in overtime and ended up being the overtime game winner in a hockey semifinal game.
Yeah, that one got speed. Rennie actually made a really good play on the entry. He cut to the middle. We interchanged. I took it around the net. Got some space on the defender. I punch turned, got some space. I looked up, saw Rennie on the back door. There was no passing lane. All the lanes on the ice were covered, and I kind of just thought like, hey, I might have to shoot it off his stomach to get this one in. So I saw Rennie. I don't think I've really ever seen that one before, where the guy's on one knee back door. But yeah, I shot it off him, and Rennie was in the perfect spot. So yeah, I mean, what I think made the play, the Barkov play, I guess it just happened, really special was like Verhage wasn't even there at the start. He put that to space, and then Verhage kind of like stepped into that space, and he had the, it was almost like a putt, like he left into put it into space.
And that's my favorite part about hockey is the anticipation and just the quick, the just like lightning quick reaction. You have to be so fast, and like we talked about, your body pretty much has to move before your brain can even process what's even going on. And now we'll get to the Panthers here. Third straight trip to the Stanley Cup Finals. As a Bruins fan myself, I mean, at this point, I can't even be upset about it just because of how successful they've been. What makes this team so special and so primed for playoff hockey, in your opinion?
I mean, you got guys like Kachuk, Bennett, Marchand, who have obviously been there before. Now they know what it takes to win, and I think winning's a skill. Like I think you can acquire that. I think a lot of the good teams you lose, and then you kind of build up that knowing what it takes to win, and I think those guys know what it takes to win. And I think what makes Florida so special is they can play any brand of hockey they want. They can win games in the street. They can win games in the alley. They can play a physical game. They can play a skill game. I think they're matchup proof. They can play any kind of game they want.
And that's what's so impressive, right? And it makes me wonder. it- I know we've lived a short lifetime here, right? But I know you're a guy. You're a walking hockey reference page, right? Like you know a lot about the game. You're obsessed with the game. This has got to be one of the most built for playoff teams that we've seen in our short lifetime, right? Because you talk about the skill and the physicality. When I think back to that game one against the Canes, right? They just beat the Leafs on, I think it was Saturday or Sunday. What, less than 48 hours later, they're playing the Hurricanes in game one. Not only do they win that game in dominant fashion, they were they were physically like there
Yeah,
was, you could tell there's a switch in their brain that they shut off any human emotion because at the end of the game, they're setting the tone physically, not just finishing checks. A couple Florida Panther defenders were getting a Canes guy on the ground and burying him with a couple extra shots to set the tone for the rest of the series. Like, it's psychotic mental behavior. I mean, that's got to be an edge to a hockey team, right? That's got to be massive in terms of that mentality.
100%. I think it's a thing too. Like there's obviously an intimidation factor when you're playing the Florida Panthers. Every time you get a puck, you're gonna get hit. And like I think what makes a Panther so good is the longer series stretches out, the better they get because they finish their hits in game one, game two, game three. They might not pay off in those games, but once you get later in the series, and I forget who it was on Toronto, but he ended up taking like the most hits in the playoffs. And every hit's an investment. Those hits that you make in game one pay dividends in game seven because the defensemen that log a lot of minutes, I think Burns and Slavin played a ton, and then they're obviously feeling it the later in the series it goes.
When you talk about finishing checks and finishing hits, it took me honestly the entire past hockey season to really understand what that meant. And our common listener, might not understand the hockey lingo. So can you talk about the benefit of just, hockey fundamentals of finishing checks on the forecheck and as well as maybe even once you get done that, actually I'll save that. I don't want to put too much on your plate. So just talk about maybe the just the process and the strategy behind trying to finish every check in the forecheck, especially in playoff hockey.
Yeah, I think obviously finishing hits, there's the physical piece where it wears down the other team. Like I said, the longer the series goes, the more they're gonna feel it, the more beat up they're gonna be. And I think their decisions get rushed a little bit too. Like you take a couple hits early in the game, you're going back for a puck, you're kind of thinking twice about holding on to it. You kind of just want to get rid of it. And yeah, and then there's the other piece of it. You finish your hit, then you're above your guy. He can't beat you up the ice, so it's good defensively too. I think you saw game three in Florida. I think Florida had six that game, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I think at least four of them were hits on the forecheck, quick turnover. I think Florida's unbelievable at attacking the middle ice. Like, get a turnover, attack the middle, and then make a play. And I think that's what makes Florida so dangerous.
I love that. And then can you just speak to your experience of when a team is just on your ass on the forecheck and finishing those hits? Can you speak to how that wears down? Is it like every time you touch the puck, like you said, is it, oh, here they fucking come again? You know what I mean? Is that just kind of, and obviously, as a competitor, you try not to slip into that mindset, but it's human nature where sometimes if a team just has your number that night and they just keep coming and keep coming, how does that wear on you as a player?
It's exhausting. Like, I'm obviously not a defenseman, but a defenseman, knowing every time you go back for a puck, you're getting hit. You're thinking about it the whole game. And then same thing too. Like, I think Florida's defensemen, like they play so aggressive. They don't give any space in the neutral zone. I think you saw that, especially against Toronto, where a lot of their high skilled guys are can't get speed in the neutral zone because they have a Florida defender gapped up on them the whole way. I think it's so hard to play against, so hard to generate speed, and so hard to create offense when Florida's playing their brand of hockey.
Tonight, the Panthers started slow, looked so sloppy for honestly the first half of the game until they exploded to tie it up 2 goals in 30 seconds right there, smack dab in the middle. When you're feeling rushed, right? And hockey is a sport that does not have many whistles. When you're feeling rushed and you're turning the puck over and just playing sloppy, but there's no, it's not like in football, or not football, you only get three timeouts. It's not like in basketball where a team goes on a run, you can just take a quick timeout, 30, 60 seconds, try to reset everything. Momentum can just come and just keep coming. How do you mid game try to clean up those mistakes when you guys are playing sloppy and turning the puck over?
Yeah, especially on the road too, like they were tonight. It elevates it even more because the crowd starts getting into it. But I mean, it's such a cliche, but it's really one shift at a time. You get one good shift, then you build on it, and hopefully pile a couple shifts together.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. And now I kind of want to flip to the Canes because again, casual fans, I find myself just like a lot of the internet was talking about, and a lot of the hockey world has been talking about, especially entering this series and even those first couple games. The Carolina Hurricanes are just so damn boring to watch, and I need a hockey guy to explain to us why that is because I know that they're boring, but I don't understand why.
Yeah, they play a different brand of hockey for sure. I think they're a really well coached team, and I think they manage the puck really well. So when you're managing the puck well, you're not going up and down the ice trading chances. It's kind of like Carolina plays more of a possession game. You hold on to it a long time in the ozone, you go low to high, you get pucks to the net, and and I don't think really they have any superstars either, which probably an average hockey fan like you go to a game, you turn it on, you want to watch Connor McDavid do something crazy like he usually does. But yeah, I think that's part of it. But they're not just going up and down the ice trading chances. It's a different brand of hockey, but they're obviously very successful with it, and I think they're really well coached at the end of the day.
And is that too something where, again, I'm an offensive lineman. If running the ball is working, it might not be entertaining, but we're going to keep running the goddamn ball. Is that something where I heard Seth Jarvis talking about it in either game one or game two, pregame, talking to the TNT crew? Is that something where in the room, if it's working, it's working. That's your brand of hockey. You guys own it. Screw whatever the fans think. That's probably comes in as an identity thing, correct?
Yeah, 100%. Like I think like you saw it in the game Carolina won. Like when they're playing that way, they're managing pucks. I think they're really hard to play against because they're really sound defensively. They play man on man and they play really aggressively too. So I think when they're playing that brand and they're managing pucks, they're a really hard team to beat. But I think Florida this year and last year is just a different animal. I think I think Florida this year might be even better than last year.
Well, that's what I was going to transition to because not only are they better than last year, I think the roster you could argue is better. What do you make of Brad Marchand getting traded from the Bees? Guy wore a C, was the face of the franchise, especially once he got handed that captain C after Bergeron left, and then he just swallows his pride and becomes a third liner who's just going to get in there and do the dirty work and do whatever it takes to win. What can you say about the way he's transitioned into that role? And also, is that just hockey kind of summed up in one example right there?
Yeah, that's what I think makes hockey so great. I think if you look at the other professional sports, everyone wants to win, but I think in hockey it's just a whole nother level. Like Marchand is a guy that you you hate playing against, but you love to have on your team. I think like every one of his teammates loves him, but when you play against him, you hate him. And he's so good in the locker room, and he knows how to win too. He won in 2011 with Boston. He's played in Game Sevens of the Stanley Cup Final. So I think adding even another veteran piece to that Florida team is huge.
And is Paul Maurice just like the best coach for that? I don't think I haven't seen in a while in this, at least the sport of hockey, someone who's so connected to his locker room, a head coach who fully understands the personality and the culture that is in that locker room and knows how to poke the right buttons. Every time he speaks at the podium, it sounds like he's saying the right thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he does an unbelievable job when you have that many veterans in the locker room. I think he does a really good job of kind of letting the players take over at some points. And but I love his interviews. I think every one of his interviews, it seems like goes viral, and they're fun to watch. I think he puts a lot of thought into them. Like just what was the one yesterday? Sometimes he shotgun a beer, sometimes he pray.
Right, unreal.
Yeah, I think he's pretty entertaining, and I think he's a really good coach.
Yeah, I think he had a quote before, or maybe after game three, something like that. It was his quote was, "Let's get into the mud first." Is that's a
Yeah.
team mentality? I mean, that I love that. As a football guy, that's something that we can really relate to. And God, what else we got here? See, I'm glad we finally got flowing because the start of this was a little too formal for us, Russ.
Yeah.
And that's on me, but that's why we're doing this to get better. And I guess moving to the Western Conference Series. Actually, no, sorry. Before I wanted to ask you, is there someone that from the casual eye we might not see, but you as a hockey guy who knows the game and knows how important maybe certain pieces are, really stood out to you for the Panthers that isn't a Bennett, Kachuk, or Barkov, someone like that?
I mean, obviously everyone's gonna say Bobrovsky too. I think in the playoffs, goaltending's what wins. I think like you can play unbelievable, but if your goalie sucks, you're probably not gonna win.
Yep.
So I think that's like probably a pretty common answer, but I think he's been awesome, and I think goaltending is what wins in playoffs.
All right, well, now let's finally move to the Western Conference Series. You got Edmonton up 3-1 on Dallas. Oilers with four of the top 5 point leaders in all of playoffs. You got McDavid in first with 24 points, Draisaitl with 23 in second, Nugent Hopkins with, sorry, forgot to write that one down. He's in fourth though. Bouchard with he's in fifth with 17. When a team is that high powered offensively, how do you even attempt to slow that down?
I mean, like that's what they get paid the big bucks for. I think like in playoffs, you need your best players to be your best players, and for Edmonton, they have. But I think defending it, you've got to. I feel like I've said it 100 times, but you've got to manage the puck.
Yeah.
If you don't give them anything easy, like if you give Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl a 2-on-1, they're gonna score. It's gonna hurt you. If you make it easy on them, I think they're gonna hurt you. I think you need to make them defend.
And essentially, you want to just the last thing you want to do is get into a track race with those guys.
Exactly. If you're going up and down the ice against them, playing a track means probably not going to end well for you. And I mean, Dallas has stars too. They got
Mhm.
Rantanen, Heiskanen, they got all those guys that can score. But I think McDavid, Draisaitl, it's a whole nother level.
And you really thought, especially after that third period explosion of Dallas in the game one, it seemed like they had the horses to hang in with the Oilers. But I mean, this one is not looking great for those Stars. What do you expect in this big game five coming up?
I think it depends on Stuart Skinner. I think when he's on, and I think he's what makes or breaks Edmonton. Like he's been really good the past couple of games, and if he continues that, I think they'll give Florida a run for their money.
Did you happen to see, and this is the game within the game that I love about hockey, and especially playoff hockey, the way it just plays out over a 7 game series. And like Sam Bennett was such a good villain against the Bruins last year, punching Marchand, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah,
those type of characters. And Bouchard, did you see the slash on is it Hintz?
yeah, yeah. Hence,
So for reference, Hintz, I'm saying that correctly?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, well, we're gonna roll with it.
Yeah, I think Rope hints. I think.
Okay, yeah, Hintz gets slashed earlier in the series, and he goes down with a little lower body injury, misses a game. I'm almost positive to say, and then Bouchard in the first period comes back with a slash on that same foot. What do you make of that move? And is that just a game within the game of playoff hockey?
That's playoff hockey. I love it. I think there's hatred in that series, and
Yeah.
I think doing that, Bouchard sends a message like, I don't care what happens. I'm gonna win the series, and if you do want to play, you want to play through whatever's going on with your foot. I don't know if it's broken or kind of whatever, but I think he's sending hints the message like it's gonna be hard. If you want to play, I'm gonna make it really hard for you.
It's unreal, bro. And it's the reason I just it's the reason hockey's the best, man. It
Yep.
really is just it's truly a gladiator sport. And I kind of want to go back to trying to slow the Oilers down. Is there something where you talk about slowing the game down and possessing the puck? Is that being patient, getting into the offensive zone? Is it maybe something where I know in soccer, obviously, they call it parking the bus, right? Is it
Yep.
having a way more defensive focused game plan and trying to take your opportunities on the counter attack when you can get them? I guess if you can go into a little bit more detail, if you can, obviously, I'm putting you on the spot here. Just what goes into possessing the puck in that type of game?
Uh, I think playoff hockey, finishing every hit matters. I think
Yeah.
especially with their high skill guys, like probably don't like hitting hits, so you got to be really heavy on those. That's got to be a key. And I think obviously the best defense is having the puck. You can't get scored on when you have the puck. So
Mhm.
if you're doing the right things, you're having possession in the O zone, you're not giving Edmonton anything easy, then I think that's part of it. And I think Dallas at the end of the day, it's about them. I think they're obviously a really good team. You got to keep doing what got you there.
All right, man. I just kind of one of the last things I want to ask you is when you watch McDavid, as you play hockey at a high level, Division One in the Hockey East is the highest level in college hockey, and you've played with and around a bunch of guys who are probably in the NHL, in the pros, in some capacity now. When you watch Connor McDavid move, are you just as stunned and or maybe even more amazed than the casual fan because you understand how goddamn hard it is the shit he does on a nightly basis?
100% Jackie. Like we've talked about this before. It's almost like the NHL is not good enough of a league for him. It's like he needs to play in a league higher than the NHL. Like just the way he skates, I don't know how he does it. He almost doesn't look human. It's like he's made in a hockey lab.
Dude, it's actually insane. And it seems like he's must watch television. It's like Curry when Curry was doing his thing, Mahomes, you know what I mean? When he plays on the field, you have to watch these guys because they do shit that nobody else does. And it's just, it's crazy to watch. Hey, you got anything else to add, Russ? Because I thought this was great, and I'm fired up to just kind of integrate you here in the show as one of our hockey guys. And in chat, is there anything else you want to add on maybe the Panthers, making the final or Edmonton Dallas game five? Anything else you got in the brain, or are you good?
I think I'm good. Thank you for having me on, Jackie. I'm excited to see where this podcast goes. Hopefully, this isn't the last time I'm on.
Hey, there could be one person listening. It will not be the last time you're on. All right, this was Charlie Russell, Maine hockey forward, former what? Green Bay Gambler and Fargo
Yep.
Force right there. Shout out to junior teams. Russ, thanks again, brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Jackie.
That was an absolute pleasure to have Russ on the pod. I'm sure he will be back for a finals preview, a Stanley Cup final preview, or something of that nature. Because that was fun. That was so much fun. We both had a blast. We both loved getting the reps of me being the interviewer and kind of the, I guess you could say, host, and him being the analyst. We had a ton of fun doing that. Started out a little rough. Started out a little rocky there. I was being a little too formal. Then we finally settled in. So I appreciate you sitting through that with us. And as I think about the structure of these podcasts, I think about the back end, right? I think you want to talk the main sports, the main topics at the beginning, and then we can have some fun here on the back end, maybe after we have a guest on or something of that nature. And there's a segment I want to introduce. Two, actually. One is State of the Moon, which will just be kind of an overall overview and some notes and thoughts and ideas about the pod. But then I thought of one today because I understand that I am way more online than the average person. I spend a lot of time on Twitter. It's kind of how I'm wired as a sports media, as a sports fiend. I do a lot of refreshing on Twitter because that's where the great content is, man. I think Elon has done a lot of tough things to the old X, to the old Twitter. But one thing, it's turning more and more into just a sports app, or maybe that's just my timeline, but I love it. and I think I have my finger on the pulse, and I think a lot of people who listen to this and are giving it a shot just simply don't have the time or don't have the interest in checking the pulse of the social media trolls that are by the masses. So I think I'm going to use this segment Today on X, and we're workshopping that name. That's not the final name, but Today on X, to kind of bring you into the world and see what the people are saying, see what the streets are talking about. Streets today are getting a little tired of the ESPN crew. Now, I don't know your opinion on each individual, but they're saying that this ESPN A team is not it. When we had Van Gundy, Breen, and Mark Jackson, I thought that was special. Maybe that's just childhood nostalgia for me of those LeBron, Cav, Warrior series. But I thought that was a spectacular booth. I never agreed with the decision to pivot off Jackson and Van Gundy, but the streets say Mike Breen is washed. They don't like anything Doris Burke is saying, and I haven't seen Richard Jefferson getting too much flack, but I just don't think he's the guy. There's something about him. I don't know if he's too. What's the way to say this? Because I like him as a person. I just don't think he's the correct personality for the job. He talks, brings in a lot of analytics, things of that nature. Doris Burke is, I respect the hell out of the career she's had, but she lost a lot of my respect in those Celtics 76ers series because she was visibly, and again, you could call me you could say this is New England Boston bias. If you want to go back and listen to some of those plays, she was visibly cheering for the 76ers in those Celtics Sixers series of a couple years ago. And then Breen, I don't know. I don't think he's washed, man. I think we haven't just had a good bang moment. We haven't let my boy bang. Let my boy Mike Breen bang. Someone give him a moment. That first double bang back, hopefully it's in the finals. Hopefully we actually get a really exciting game. That first buzzer beater, that first dagger, late in the fourth quarter, maybe overtime, it's going to hit like crack. It's going to hit like crack. Let my boy Mike Breen bang. We'll move into the State of the Moon. I realized about as soon as I posted episode 1 that maybe the person who doesn't know me personally, the listener, I should say, because that sounded dumb. The listener that doesn't know me personally is wondering, okay, this guy's named Jack Webb. He's trying to become, he's trying to make himself something in sports media. Why the hell is this called the Full Moon Podcast? I probably should explain that part. I have this nickname. A lot of people call me Jackie Moon. Moon, Mooner, Jackie, whatever you want to say. In 7th grade, I shot a foul shot in her hand after watching the movie Semi-Pro. This guy named Ben Mills started calling me Jackie Moon. It was only like a handful of people. And then I put on a master class. They should let me teach a class at Harvard about this self-marketing campaign. Put on a master class. That same year, a couple people started calling me Jackie Moon. Instagram drops. Social media handle, at Jackie Moon _25. The rest is history. Nickname sticks. It kind of starts adding up to the point where the people I don't know personally and I kind of meet in passing, or you know how it works these days in social media, a lot of people, I would say probably a third of the people I've ever come into interaction with, a third's generous, but you get what I'm saying, think my name is actually Jackie Moon. There's a whole ton of people out there that do not understand my name is Jack Webb, truly John Webb legally. And so that's where that comes from. I just did a dog shit job explaining that, telling that story, and I'm sure it'll come up again on the pod as we grow and get better. But that's why it's called the Full Moon Podcast. And no, I'm not going to show you my ass. You can pay a little extra for that if you want to DM the Full Moon Pod accounts. This episode, try to be more organized. I think in some self-reflection, I might have sped up a little bit on too many of the segments. I probably should have prefaced some things better. But I thought it went much better than last time. I think last episode I really focused a lot on the intro, and it took away from some of my sports thoughts. But we got through it, and again, we're just throwing these up. Another thought is I would love to start like a mailbag, and I understand we probably wouldn't get a ton of them at first, but I would love to just start like a traditional mailbag segment where listeners can send in comments, questions, concerns, whatever you got, as just a fun way to end things in this end of episode segments, just to maybe spark some new conversations, have some fun. Thinking about going twice a week. I've been itching all week to get on here and talk, and I've been developing in kind of trying to craft some of these ideas, some of these takes. Listen, guys, I've got 4 pages of notes. You're talking to a guy who never truly took schooling that serious and never really dove in to assignments for the most part. In my major, 3.9 in major. We're not going to talk about the overall GPA, but I took 4 pages of notes to get ready for this episode. And I've been itching all week to get on and chat about it. So I'm going to try to move to twice a week soon, because the sports world also moves so fast, man. It moves lightning fast. Talk about something for a day, 2 days, sports world moved on. So much happens. But yeah, that's going to put a wrap on episode 2. Thank you again for listening. I really hope you enjoyed not just, maybe a little more organized thoughts and some football talk, but I really had such a good time with that Russ interview. I appreciate him coming on, and you'll see him again to talk some hockey. And I think that's the type of thing that's going to make this podcast worth a listen, is, myself, a curious sports fan, asking someone who's in the know, whatever the subject may be, and talking about it, talking it out. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.